From a sickling status of SCD patients to now negative patients, that's the story of two children who have undergone what experts describe as a successful first ever bone marrow transplant procedure right here in Ghana. The bone marrow transplant is a procedure that replaces the unhealthy blood-forming cells in sickle cell disease patients with healthy ones. Two of the children are currently responding to treatment at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. We've been speaking to mothers who had traveled from Nigeria to have two of their children undergo this transplant. But this mother wants to remain anonymous.
My own is SAS. Why my husband, when he went to test before we got married, test showed that he was AA. But when we start giving birth, we find out that it's not what we saw. It's 7 years, but there are two. So this one now is 7 years old.
How about the other one?
9 years old.
Why did you bring them here?
Because of the too much of crisis and the falling sick all the time. We came from Nigeria. We saw this event through internet. So, but because of it's not easy with us, so we decided to come and do it once and for all, the transplant. Because every time going to hospital here and there, from one place to another, it's not been easy with us. That's why we decided. It's not easy with me at all. It's not easy at all. I've been going through a lot of pains and stress all this while.
And these are two of your boys, not just him?
Two of them. So the first one I noticed when he was 2 years old. And since then, crisis.
What kind of crisis? When you say crisis, describe to us what these crises are.
Normally, sickle cell condition, when they're having pains, they call it crisis. They feel pains all the time, both from joints and all their bodies. Sometimes the person will be crying for pain, so everywhere will be paining him. So that is it.
That's a mother there speaking to Matilda Wemaga. But with the introduction of bone marrow transplantation, there appears to be some form of hope for sickle cell patients. I have in the studio with me the medical experts who successfully went through or carried out this procedure. Dr. Lawrence Faulkner is a consultant pediatric hematologist and stem cell transplant. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Also here in the studio with me is Dr. John Loga, CEO of Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation. Doctor, you're welcome as well.
BMT.
So, BMT Ghana, Bone Marrow Transplantation Ghana. It's good to have you both in the studio. It must feel very good. I mean, tell us, how does it feel like to have been able to conduct this procedure successfully? You're both staring at each other. Should I choose who to speak?
Okay, I can start. That's
okay.
So, of course, is something that is very rewarding. There have been some difficult moments, of course. There's been some apprehension because so no matter what you do, you have to take risks. So of course we try to organize things at its best. I am the medical director of an organization, an Italian organization that actually has had experience with developing transplant centers in India and Pakistan, but it's the first time in Africa. But I think we were lucky to find people like John, and I want to mention Edward Ziga. He's another bone marrow transplant specialist. He's a Ghanaian that works in Children's Hospital of Miami, and hopefully he will come back. And so, yeah, there's been difficult times, but I think of course the reward is huge.
Rewarding, yes. Yeah. It feels rewarding for you. You have anything to add, though?
Yes, that's all that I think he has said already. It was rewarding to see little kids, you know, desperately in need of help, you know, being cured and all that, and so the joy it brings to the faces
of the family and to the kids themselves. Yes. And these were they two? That's two of them, right?
For now, we have 3 patients. The first one was transplanted, a 5.5-year-old girl. Wow. Transplanted. She's completely cured and grafted. So cure of sickle cell anemia. And so we are just in the process of discharging her. Then we yesterday had another transplant to a Nigerian 7-year-old kid, boy, and he's doing well at the moment, stable, in stable condition. And then tomorrow, Friday, we'll be doing another, Lawrence and the team will be doing another transplant. That's to the senior brother of this Nigerian boy we transplanted yesterday.
Wow, that's actually amazing. But Doc, for the way you say it, it's not that risk-free. It's a very risky endeavor. Can you tell us about the risks involved in the ones that you have just done? What were the risks and how did you go about it to make sure that you landed safely?
So, right, yes, bone marrow transplantation is a risky procedure. It is, it bears a 5% risk of mortality.
Wow.
So, of course, it does not apply to every patient with sickle cell disease, because actually the majority of sickle cell disease are not sick enough to warrant a risk of 5% of mortality. Then there is another 5–10% risk of rejecting the bone marrow, and then there is another small risk, another maybe 5%, that there may be that the bone marrow engrafts, sickle cell disease is cured, but there is a long-term complication.
A long-term complication.
Yeah, which is called graft-versus-host disease, which is essentially a reaction of the bone marrow, which also carries the immune system of the donor against tissues of the host, and this can compromise health-related quality of life.
So in this particular case, I mean, the ones that you've done already, what were the risks that you were faced with, and how did you get around it?
So, right, so the first little girl we've done, she's a 5.5-year-old girl from Ghana. She had bad sickle cell disease, of course, because she had stroke. So that's an indication.
She has stroke?
A stroke, yes. So
5-year-old?
Yeah, so actually strokes are most often occur in very young kids. From 2 to 5 is the peak time.
Wow.
So, and when they have a stroke, they're at risk of having more strokes and eventually having, severe compromise of the central nervous system. So, so she actually had acute graft-versus-host disease, which we were able to manage together with the local doctors, also because the Minister of Health and Ghana Health Services were available to sort of import drugs from India, of course not from commercial purposes, but we were able to import all those drugs that were sort of life-saving and that allowed us to face this issue. So the fact that we had actually already a pretty significant complication and we were able to deal with it, of course, give us even more confidence that I think we can provide this safely. And of course, again, because of the relationship with India and the fact that we can do things in a sort of conscious way, we also are very, very sort of oriented towards making this this procedure accessible.
Right.
So we're not here to make, of course, money out of it. We're a non-governmental organization, but however, we have to make it sustainable. So.
Well, the money is something I'd like to talk about because if it's available and it's not affordable, it's as useless as not being available. So let me come to you, Dr. Loga.
Yes.
Yeah, and find out from you how you can use this process that you have been through, the success that you have achieved, to convince other people that there is hope for sickle cell, people who have sickle cell or sickle cell carriers here in Ghana. How do you intend to use this to express the message of hope so you can get them on board, perhaps, to give it a try?
The most important one is the media publication, which we desperately need to send a message out there to the general public. Obviously, there are so many critics out there, sitting on a bench trying to root for failures, and there are some that thought we came to invade their territory, so they are willing to throw anything at us. But the good news is that all those fabrications, impressions, and erroneous ones are all at naught this time. That we have a significant evidence to prove to the general public that sickle cell is indeed curable. So with the help of media, I think we could be able to convey the message across here.
Very well. Well, if you're watching this, I guess I mean, I'm impressed that sickle cell, someone who is a sickle cell carrier, has been cured, so to speak, through this bone marrow. And I'm just hoping really that going forward, that she's just 5 years, right? That going forward there won't be any complications that she'll have to deal with. Is this something that you can determine at this point that she's 5? Are you able to determine that going forward in the future she won't have any other complications?
It's going to take at least a year or two after BMT to say the bone marrow transplant has been a total success. Okay. So it takes a little time. So right now, we know she had a full engraftment. She has a normal blood count, blood tests. She had this complication, which is acute graft-versus-host disease, which responded very well to the therapy. So everything leads us to believe that she will be fine. However, it's going to take another year to say she will go back, she will have
going
a
on
normal
in her life,
health-related quality of life. Yes.
A year is not so long. We will be able to monitor that, certainly. But finally, let me find out from you, since you're the Ghanaian, whether or not this is indeed affordable. I mean, to what extent is it affordable? Last time you were here, Dr. Faulkner was here with another person, I think. We talk about the cost. It's a very expensive procedure.
Right. Let me take you briefly through the cost globally. In the U.S., the cost of autologous, for instance, transplant costs almost $650,000.
Wow.
In Germany, where myself, Lawrence, and the other expert, Pietro Sudani, were coming from recently on a conference, the cost there costs about €220,000. And in Italy, UK, it costs £350,000. Now, we are doing this for a non-profit basis, that is to say 15,000 USD, without having to compromise with the quality assurance. Okay. This is because people like Lawrence and Cure to Children are investing time, money, and all effort on free non-profit basis. They don't charge for the expertise. And so we are able also to import medication that costs a lot of money in Ghana, maybe 1,000 times more.
But you get to have
cheaper.
Some incentives for the imports, right? I mean,
yes. Ministry of Health is in our favor in a sense that, and Food and Drug Authority, we just have approval to import drugs cheaper. So these are all combination of efforts and things that have made it possible for us to do
to make
the
it
transplant
accessible and much cheaper. So these people that you just did for, how are they from wealthy families? How do they afford it?
No, the first patient, the 5.5-year-old, I'll say Josephine Penny. We are, of course, myself, Lawrence, and others. We sat down, we spoke to the family, consented them, and we realized they don't have the money. Meanwhile, the young girl had multiple strokes and so many issues that I would say had met the criteria for BMT. Now, we could not allow this girl to continue like that, so we had to come in and did it on charity basis, so free of charge.
Oh, yes, that's amazing. That's actually amazing, and I really hope that going forward, people can't afford it, but what you have done for this 5-year-old girl, that's really amazing, and you should be commended for that. But for the others, they're going to have to pay, right?
Yes. For instance, those two Nigerians, obviously, we say 15,000, but they could not afford that much. So we also subsidize, basically, heavily. I think they pay $8,000. So we were able to subsidize and to get this through.
Well, I'll just say God bless you and take your very final words if you have any going forward. Dr. Faulkner, do you have some final words?
Yes, so I think that bone marrow transplantation, I think, in Ghana is a reality. Of course, there has to be a proper indication. We are very open to speak with families, health professionals, nurses, doctors involved in the care of sickle cell disease to explain what are the risks, benefits. We're a non-profit. We don't do this to become more rich. We do this if we really think that is proper. So we welcome anybody who's interested to visit the unit, see the kids, talk with us, and we will be happy to provide all the explanations.
Okay, okay. Dr. Luga?
Yeah, there are a few other patients, obviously thousands of Ghanaians and African patients that cannot afford for this transplant. Now, we are pleading the general public and those wealthy ones in, society to help fundraise to support these young ones.
Okay.
And at this note, I would like to pass over our bank account in case somebody is willing to help. Can always contact.
That's a lot of figures. Ideally, we should be able to maybe put up on the screen. I don't know if I'm even allowed to do it, but look, this is the bank is EcoBank, the EcoBank headquarters at Ridge. The account number is 001 00845 70839401. I'll try and go over it again. And we're basically, this is just basically for you to help people who are sickle cell carriers. That's the correct expression, right?
Sickle cell.
Sickle cell carriers are actually
different.
they're actually healthy people.
Okay, but they're just carriers.
So right. Yeah. Sickle cell disease.
So sickle cell disease.
With severe sickle cell disease.
So people with severe sickle cell disease. This is just a way that you can help them, help the organization that's and carrying out this bone marrow transplant to help them. The account number again is 001 00845 70839401. EcoBank, and the branch is the EcoBank headquarters. You can contact them on 0546 103700. They've just conducted a successful, what they're calling a largely successful transplant for a 5.5-year-old girl, and they did it for free. This is the way that you can support the organization. You can reach them once again. The number is 054 613700. That's 054 613700. So is there any way, do you have like a social media platform, or how can people contact you? How can people get to you?
People can contact us on our website, bmtghana.org.
bmtghana.org.
Or email www.foundation@bmtghana.org.
Okay, that's foundation@bmtghana.org. Foundation@bmtghana.org. And then www.bmtghana.com. bmtghana.com.
Anyway, they can just Google BMT Ghana,
and everything will come up.
Yes.
Okay, but where's the hospital? The Accra.
We are at Greater Accra Regional Hospital.
So that's the Ridge Hospital.
Yeah.
So this is where you can find them. Ridge Hospital, which is now the Greater Accra Region Hospital. You can find them there. You just ask for who.
We have administrator, and then we also have head nurse, so they could reach,
anybody could take you
yes,
there.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, congratulations to the team, those who have been successfully giving this girl back her life free of the strokes. At 5 years, having strokes, that's quite serious. So congratulations to you and the team once again, and we hope that people will be able to afford this system so they can live healthier.
Thank you.
Having this conversation with Dr. Lawrence Faulkner. He is a consultant pediatric hematology and oncology and stem cell transplantation, and also the founder of Cure to Children Foundation. I've also had Dr. John Yaologa, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the BMT Ghana. That's the Bone Marrow Transplant Ghana. I got that right? Okay, thank you very much for coming, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time.